Welcome to my channel, Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The bell rang across the shimmering corridors of Galaxis Interstellar Academy, its tone pure as crystal, resonating through miles of metal and glass. Holographic screens dimmed as lessons ended, and the air filled with chatter in 100 alien tongues. Students from every known quadrant drifted between classes, scaled, feathered, luminous, or cybernetic, their hover discs gliding in tidy lanes. The Academy orbited Proxima Helios, a tranquil star. To most of the galaxy, this was a sanctuary for the best and brightest. To Lyra Hane, it was enemy territory. She stood by the viewport, watching the triple suns pour molten gold across the Academy's curved skyline. The light caught her eyes, cold gray, like weathered steel. Her black uniform contrasted against her pale skin, and her posture was precise, military even, though she wasn't supposed to be. She adjusted the strap of her satchel, ignoring the glances of other students. Humans were rare here, almost extinct, really. The last galactic census had recorded fewer than 100,000 humans scattered across the stars. Their homeworld, Earth, was a red mark in the archives, Class-7 Deathworld, entry restricted. Every species here knew what that meant. On a Deathworld, even the plants hunted back. Lyra knew it, too. She'd been born on a world that tried to kill her every day, storms that peeled mountains like bark, animals that stalked cities at night. She'd grown up under the constant hum of survival drills and orbital bombardment alerts. And now, she was here, on a clean, polished station where danger was a distant concept. Where students thought conflict meant debating star politics. They had no idea. The whisper of fear. Lyra walked through the corridors, hearing it again, that word behind her back. Deathworlder, she's one of them. I heard humans eat raw meat, and each other. It was always the same. Whispered fascination mixed with disgust. She kept her face still. Humans learned early not to show weakness. Weakness was permission. At her locker, a shadow fell across her. Hey, freak. Lyra looked up. 3 figures blocked her path, Threx, Juno, and Marek. The local predators. Threx was a Velkari, a reptilian species built like tanks. His obsidian scales gleamed with bioluminescent lines, and twin horns curled from his head. Beside him stood Juno, a Raxari feline with golden fur and eyes like molten fire, tail twitching in lazy arrogance. Marek brought up the rear, a cybernetic half-breed, his left arm all chrome and wires. Lyra had avoided them for months. They thrived on fear. She gave them none. What do you want? She asked evenly. Threx grinned, showing serrated teeth. Just curious, human. How's life on a planet where everything tries to eat you? Must have been fun. Survivable, she said, closing her locker. Marek leaned forward. We heard humans used to fight each other for sport. No neural dampeners, no safety fields. Just blood and fists. Lyra's mouth twitched, the ghost of a smile. Sounds accurate. Sounds barbaric, Juno purred. You're a savage pet pretending to be civilized. Then stop poking the cage, Lyra murmured, brushing past them. The Velkari's tail lashed out, blocking her way. The corridor went silent. Dozens of eyes turned toward them. No one dared intervene. Humans might be feared, but Threx's family had influence, high seats in the Velkari armada. He leaned in close. You think you're better than us? You're just a soft animal that lucked out on an evolutionary accident. Lyra met his slitted eyes without flinching. If I were on Earth, you'd already be dead. Gasps rippled around them. Threx's nostrils flared. Careful, little Deathworlder. Accidents happen outside class. He turned away, but the promise in his tone was clear. Lyra exhaled softly once they were gone. Her pulse didn't quicken, her face didn't change, but her mind was already mapping routes, exits, shadowed corners. Old instincts. Old training. She'd need them soon. The ambush evening fell over the orbital academy. The triple sun slipped below the horizon, leaving only the glow of the ring lights and the stars beyond. The halls emptied as students drifted toward the recreation decks or dormitories. Lyra stayed behind in the training bay, finishing her simulation drills, marksmanship, movement under zero-G, stealth maneuvers. She wasn't supposed to know combat tactics, but habits were hard to kill. She'd been taught by professionals long before she came here. Her instructors back home had said one thing over and over. A Deathworlder doesn't start fights. But she ends them. When she finally left the bay, her reflection ghosted across the polished floor, slender, calm, ordinary. Perfect camouflage. But she wasn't alone. She heard it, faint footsteps, claws scraping metal. Someone following her. Lyra didn't hurry. She walked through the outer corridors toward the maintenance sector, where lighting dimmed and surveillance thinned. She knew what was coming. She'd been waiting for it. In the shadows of the tunnel, Frex's voice echoed. End of the line, human. She turned. They were there, all three of them, blocking the way back. Marek's mechanical arm clicked, deploying a plasma blade. Juno's tail swished like a whip, eyes glowing predatory gold. Frex cracked his claws together, scales rippling with heat. Lyra sighed. You're really doing is. Consider it a lesson, Frex hissed. Deathworlders don't belong in civilized space. He lunged. The first strike was a blur of claws and light, Frex's plasma-tipped talons arcing straight for her throat. Lyra moved before thought. She sidestepped, grabbed his arm, twisted, and let his own momentum drive him into the wall. Metal dented. The sound reverberated. Marek was next, his cybernetic fist punching forward with hydraulic force. Lyra ducked low, swept his legs, and rammed her knee into the joint of his mechanical elbow. Sparks flew. The arm went dead. Juno slashed across Lyra's cheek, fast and shallow, a warning cut. Lyra responded with a short, efficient elbow to the jaw that made the feline's teeth scatter across the floor. Seconds. That's all it took. 3 trained alien adolescents against 1 unarmed human girl, and they were losing. Frex roared, his scales flaring crimson. He spat a burst of molten plasma, a Velkari weaponized breath. Lyra dropped flat as it seared the ceiling. The heat scorched her hair, but she was already moving. She rolled, grabbed the dropped plasma blade, and drove it up through his ribcage. The weapon hissed. Frex froze mid-snarl. For a heartbeat, the tunnel glowed orange. Then silence. Lyra stood, panting softly, watching as the body collapsed. The smell of burnt ozone filled the air. Marek screamed and charged again. Lyra caught him mid-stride, pivoted, and slammed the hilt of the plasma knife against the back of his head. He dropped, twitching. Juno tried to run. Lyra threw the blade. It caught her square in the spine. The sound it made was small. Final. Then there was only breathing. Hers. Erasure. Lyra crouched amid the wreckage of what had once been her classmates. Her expression was unreadable, neither horror nor satisfaction. Just calculation. She looked at the surveillance nodes above. 5 cameras, 3 fake, 2 real. She'd studied the system layout the first week she arrived. Tapping her wrist console, she spoke quietly. Command override, Shadow Protocol, Lyra Hane Authorization Zeta 9. The system beeped. Override accepted. Initiating purge. The feeds blinked, one by one, into static. She dragged the bodies to the maintenance hatch, a drone disposal shaft that led to the matter recycler. With a few commands, she opened the chute and dropped them in. The machine hummed to life, atoms shredding under molecular disassembly. No trace. No blood. No DNA. Lyra wiped her hands, then wiped her face clean. The shallow cut from Juno's claws had already clotted. She touched the tiny scar and murmured, "Guess I'll keep that one." Then she straightened her uniform, walked calmly out of the tunnel, and rejoined the flow of evening students as if nothing had happened. The morning after, by dawn, the academy was in chaos. 3 students missing. Their dorms untouched, their communicators offline. The headmaster, Director Hallen, a crystalline being whose voice resonated like breaking glass, called Lyra into his office. "Miss Hane," he said, his refracted eyes narrowing. "You were last seen near the south maintenance sector last night." Lyra folded her hands. "I train there often, sir. Simulations help me focus. Do you know anything about the disappearance of your peers?" "No, sir." He studied her for a long time, the light inside his body dimming and flaring in pulses. "The surveillance feed for that section is corrupted. Entire hours missing. Strange coincidence," she said softly. "Indeed." A pause. Then he leaned forward. "You are from a Deathworld. That much is known. But tell me, Miss Hane, are you here to learn, or to test us?" Lyra smiled faintly. "On Earth, Director, testing is just another word for surviving." He said nothing more. He didn't need to. She was dismissed. As Lyra walked out into the academy's gleaming halls, she passed other students whispering, their eyes darting away the instant she looked at them. Fear. Real, instinctive fear. And deep inside, under the cold calm, a small part of Lyra felt something close to regret. Not for what she'd done, but for how easily it had come back to her. The instinct to kill, to erase, to survive. Old habits from a planet that never forgave weakness. The message that night, she activated a hidden link in her quarters, a secure channel tied to an encrypted frequency that only one person would answer. The hologram of an older man flickered to life. Broad shoulders, scarred face, uniform bearing the faded insignia of Earth Command. "Report," he said. "Compromised elements neutralized," Lyra replied. "No witnesses. Situation contained." He nodded. "Understood. You've maintained cover." "Yes, Colonel, but the director suspects." "He always will," the man said quietly. "Let him. Our mission remains. Learn their systems, their strengths, their weaknesses. The Alliance still doesn't understand what humanity really is. You're there to remind them." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Permission to request extraction denied, I assume." A faint smile. "You're too valuable to pull out now, Agent Hane. Deathworlders don't quit." The transmission ended. Lyra stood at her window, watching the lights of the orbital ring glitter against the void. She touched the faint scar on her cheek again. "They'll come after me again," she whispered. And for the first time in days, she smiled, small, dangerous, and human. Let them try. The Academy's corridors didn't hum with laughter anymore. Where once the alien students had floated lazily on anti-GR AV discs, now silence filled the air like fog. Drones swept every hall, scanners blinked in rhythmic pulses, and holographic alerts shimmered on walls. 3 students missing. Report any anomaly to security. Lyra Hane walked through that silence like a ghost. Every step deliberate, every breath measured. The eyes that once mocked her now looked away. She'd erased her tracks well, but not perfectly. No erasure was ever perfect. And she knew the director had begun to suspect. The director's doubt. Director Hallen stood in his office overlooking the starfield. His crystalline body refracted sunlight into shards of color that danced across the walls. He wasn't a creature of flesh or emotion, yet even his energy core flickered with unease. He replayed the damaged footage again. A dim corridor, 3 blurred heat signatures, and one, smaller, faster, moving with predatory precision. Then static, enhanced frame, he commanded. The AI obeyed. The shape sharpened into a silhouette, humanoid, slim, unmistakably human. Subject identified, Lyra Hane, human, Class-7 Deathworld species. Hallen's hands pulsed violet, the equivalent of a frown. "Impossible," he whispered. "A first-year student shouldn't be capable of such." He stopped himself. Humans were always the exception. For centuries, the Galactic Union had called them an evolutionary mistake, creatures from a planet so violent that survival was genetic instinct. But they were also brilliantly adaptable, cunning, and ruthless. And that made him dangerous. He tapped his communicator. "Security command, summon Miss Hane for immediate questioning." The summons. Lyra was in the training bay when the summons arrived. Her holo wrist blinked red. "Report to Director Hallen's office, Priority 1. She stood still for a long moment. The room was empty, save for the whisper of the gravity field. The plasma targets around her were still glowing from recent use, every shot precise, controlled. "Time's up," she murmured. She closed her eyes and counted her pulse. Normal. She'd learned long ago that panic was the first death. When she finally reached Hallen's office, 2 security drones hovered at the door, their lenses whirring. Lyra entered calmly. "Director," she said softly. Hallen didn't look up from the holo display. "Miss Hane, you've been quite busy lately." "I don't understand." He turned. 3 students dead, footage missing, systems corrupted, and yet you, a mere human student, are untouched. "I'm lucky," she said. His eyes flared white. "No one is that lucky on a Deathworld." The air vibrated with tension. The hum of the office turned sharp, electric. "I've reviewed the fragmentary footage," Hallen continued. "There's something, a blur, faster than any Velkari, stronger an Araxari. Tell me, Lyra, what are you?" She held his gaze. "Alive." That single word made even his crystalline structure dim. "Alive," he repeated, "at the cost of others." He tapped the console. A projection filled the room, heat traces, residual molecular energy from the recycler tunnel. The pattern was faint but distinct. 3 bodies disintegrated here. Someone knew how to access the maintenance override. That requires internal clearance. Lyra's heartbeat slowed. So he had found it. The faint signature she thought she'd erased. "I don't know how to access security codes," she said. "Then you won't mind if I scan your neural implants," Hallen said. That was a problem. The implants were hidden, old Earth military tech. Scans would expose her entire mission. Lyra smiled faintly. You'll need my consent for that, Director. His light flickered again. Irritation. Refusal implies guilt. Or just privacy, she said. You wanted to learn about humans. This is lesson 1. We don't like people inside our heads. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Hallen's tone softened. Miss Hane, I don't wish to destroy you. But the Council will demand answers. I can't protect you if you lie. Her voice was almost gentle. You can't protect me if I tell the truth. Then the alarms began to wail. The trap red light washed over the office. Security drones activated full combat mode, plasma emitters glowing. Director, 1 announced, breach detected in Sector 7, Engineering Core. Hallen turned sharply. What breach? The drones swiveled, confused. Another alarm followed, then another. Dozens. A cascade of system failures. Lyra's doing. She triggered them remotely, an emergency contingency she'd coded weeks ago. Diversion protocols. In the chaos, she moved. Fast. A small EMP spike flashed from her palm, disabling the 2 drones instantly. They fell to the floor with heavy thuds. Hallen spun toward her. What are you? She moved faster than his processes could register. A precise strike. Not to harm, but to sever his control relay. The Director froze mid-command, lights dimming as she locked him into diagnostic loop. I told you, she whispered, you wouldn't believe the truth. And then she was gone. The pursuit the Academy turned into a war zone. Alarms blared. Drones swarmed. The sound of boots, metallic, insectoid, echoed through corridors. Lyra sprinted through maintenance tunnels, cutting corners, leaping over plasma conduits. She'd memorized every emergency exit, every blind camera angle. This wasn't escape, it was exfiltration. Through the comms, she heard, target confirmed, human female, armed and dangerous. Containment teams en route. Her wrist console flickered to life. A secure channel, Colonel Avery. You're burning cover, Agent Hane. Didn't have a choice, she panted. They found partial traces. Then finished the mission. Phase 2 extraction is ready. Coordinates. Docking Bay 17C, under maintenance lockdown. You have 6 minutes before the patrol sweeps it. Copy that. Lyra rerouted down a side passage. Behind her, security drones fired plasma bolts that scorched the walls. She rolled, ducked behind a cargo crate, and tossed a small orb. It burst into black mist, nanoclouds that fried sensors. Her movement blurred. The drones lost lock. She was gone again, a phantom in metal shadows. Docking Bay 17C. The bay was dark, empty except for a single maintenance skiff hovering in standby mode. The access lights pulsed dimly. Lyra approached, checking corners. Her muscles ached, not from exhaustion, but restraint. The Deathworlder in her wanted to fight. To finish the chase. But mission first. Always mission. She entered the skiff, activated the control console. Systems hummed to life. The hangar shield shimmered open, revealing the void. Then the voice came, calm, crystalline, echoing through comms. Miss Hane. Lyra froze. Hallen's hologram appeared on the skiff's console, fractured but active. You disappoint me, he said quietly. I thought perhaps you were more than a predator pretending to be a student. You shouldn't have followed me, she said. You can't escape the Union's reach. We'll find you, no matter which world you crawl to. Lyra smiled sadly. You'll try. That's what civilized species do. And humans, we survive. She hit the ignition. The skiff roared to life, engines flaring bright blue. Hallen's hologram shattered in static as the blast knocked out the comm link. Within seconds, the craft shot through the hangar field and vanished into the star-dotted black. The debrief hours later, far from the Academy, the skiff docked with a camouflaged cruiser hidden in the asteroid belt, the ECS Raven, an Earth-covered vessel. As Lyra stepped aboard, soldiers in dark combat suits saluted. The scent of human-made steel and recycled air hit her like home. Colonel Avery was waiting. You look like hell, he said. Feels like it, Lyra replied, peeling off her uniform. Report. Covers blown. The Director knows I killed the Velkari and the others. Partial data recovered, but I neutralized surveillance and command AI before leaving. Collateral. 0 non-combatants. Avery nodded. Good work. Earth Command will debrief you, but for now, you're off the grid. The Council's calling this an incident. They'll assume you went rogue. Lyra sat down, her expression unreadable. I did go rogue. For 6 minutes. That's 6 more than most people survive against galactic security, Avery said. He lid her a small data crystal. Your next assignment, once the storm settles. The Council's moving to restrict humans from all academic institutions. They fear us more than ever. Lyra stared at the crystal. And you want me to feed that fear? Avery met her gaze. No, I want you to earn it. The Council's reaction back on the Academy, Director Hallen stood before a massive holographic council. Dozens of alien leaders, their visages towering like gods of light and flame. The human escaped, Hallen reported. She demonstrated combat efficiency far beyond expectation, strategic deception, neural hacking, direct system infiltration. All under age 20, the council murmured, some in awe, others in alarm. You recommend what action? One asked. Hallen's body dimmed. Containment is no longer an option. If one Deathworlder can breach an academy under surveillance, imagine an army of them. Silence. And yet, Hallen continued, I do not believe she acted alone. She spoke to someone on her world. A hologram of Earth flickered above them, wrapped in warning markers. DEATHWORLD, Class 7, entry restricted. Potential threat, unknown. Hallen's final words echoed through the chamber. If they ever return united, the galaxy will tremble. Epilogue, the Deathworld girl, the ECS Raven, drifted silently beyond Helios orbit. Lyra stood at the viewport, watching the Academy shrink to a faint spark behind her. Her reflection stared back, calm, scarred, tired. She thought of Threx, Juno, Marek, names she hadn't wanted to remember. She hadn't killed them for pleasure. She'd killed them because she had to. Because that's what Deathworlders did when cornered. Behind her, the door hissed open. Colonel Avery entered quietly. You did what you had to, Lyra. Don't carry it. She didn't turn. It's not guilt, sir. It's memory. Same thing. No, she said softly. Guilt fades. Memory teaches. Avery sighed. Get some rest. You'll need it. The next phase won't be clean. When he left, Lyra looked once more at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Council would be plotting humanity's containment. But it was already too late. Because humans didn't wait for permission to survive. She pressed her palm against the glass and whispered the creed of her kind, words every child from Earth learned before they could read. Born of storm, tempered by fire, we endure. And with that, the Deathworld girl closed her eyes as the ship drifted toward the void, toward the next battlefield humanity hadn't yet claimed. End of Chapter 2. Next chapter preview. The Galactic Council deploys the hunter fleets, but the Deathworld girl becomes the predator. Chapter 3 soon on Starlight Sci-Fi Stories.